Hey guys and gals, this is Nathan. Welcome back to another episode of Comic Book Coloring Tips and Tricks. This is going to be episode 25. And today we're going to be learning how to do motion blurs. It's something one of my subscribers had sent in a request for a video, and why not? So there's a bunch of characters, Flash, Impulse, Superman, Quicksilver, of course. That either run really fast or fly really fast. You could also use it for cars, airplanes, what have you. Anything that you come across that might be going fast, you can use this technique on. So yeah, here we have the Flash that I colored ahead of time. This is by Brett Booth, and I don't believe he's on DeviantArt anymore, but I'll put a link to his blog spot in the description so you can check out more of his work. So yeah, let's go ahead and dive in. My file here. Let's see, I have colors. That's his beats. We can merge that down. This is the highlights and the electricity flying off of them. It's the red, and that's the clouds. Got a little smoke here to help blend him into the scene. And okay, this is just my mask. Just wanted to make sure I have this whole selection separate, so I don't have to go back and picking it again for when I'm doing this. It looks like I got a little thing on here. I think that should be alright. Well, let me go like this. No, it should be good, because he's going to go behind that cloud anyway, the blur. So that's fine, we'll leave that. Okay, and then there's that. You can see also I went ahead and colored the line art on the little lightning or electricity arcing off of him, just to add more interest, and then some glows on it as well. So let's see where to start. We'll go ahead and pick his colors, from our flats layer. So we'll have that going on, but we don't want to put a motion blur on all the electricity flying off of him. So we'll go ahead and deselect all that. And so I have my quick mask right now. Let's see if I double click. There's your click mask icon right here, so you can get to your options. Just double click on that right there. It'll bring this up. Since the flash is red, can't really tell what's going on, what's selected and what's not. So I'm going to go with a bluish purplish color. I guess you call it indigo, just so I can see what my selection is. And I'm doing the opacity at 75. So if I go back into my quick mask, I can tell a lot easier what's selected and what's not. Oops, let me get back to feather 0, no anti-aliasing here. So I want his eyes in there, but I don't want, again, any of this electric stuff. So I'll just deselect all this and fill that in. And we're just editing our quick mask right now. And I'll show you what that does in a second after I finish up this. I guess it would be a lot easier had I done my flats and just have that lightning on a separate layer. But that's okay. We can work around that. They say hindsight is always 20/20. But that's part of the fun of working in Photoshop, is like you gotta learn to adapt as you go. And looks like just this little bit here. And yeah, that looks good. So now we got just the flash, and we'll go to our colors, and we'll duplicate that. And I'm hitting Command J. That'll be Control J on a Mac, and that'll copy our selection onto a new layer automatically. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and do that again and again. So we're going to have 3 copies, right? And for this first one, what we're going to do, we're going to go to our Photoshop menu, and I have this on my other monitor because it's a lot easier for me to work. But if you go up to your Photoshop menu at the top and go to Filter, Blur, Motion Blur, and you'll get this little dialog box. And now kind of what we want to do, we can see how these speed lines are going off of them. We kind of want to match this angle to it. So usually what I'll do is I'll put this in the general area, it's like the middle or whatever, and just kind of eyeball it, you know, to match up with these other speed lines, you know, we have going on here. And now for the distance, we're just gonna go, we'll see what looks good. Yeah, I think about 75 will work. And let's see, this is why I had this on a kind of like as a alpha selection. So I'm gonna select that. I'm gonna put a mask on this guy. So right now what it's doing, I want to inverse that, by the way, sorry about that. And you can see it's covering the flash, so it's gonna protect him, and this blurred layer is gonna go everywhere behind him. Now we're gonna take our move tool, which will be V, and it's this little guy up here, and we're just gonna place that, you know, I'd say about right there. It looks good. And again, we're just kind of following, you know, these speed lines going off of them. And let's drop this layer, the opacity, to maybe 60%, I guess. 60, 70, it's up to you. You know, each piece you do, it's going to be different. So you're going to, you know, eyeball it and see what makes sense in your mind. Let's see. Oh, and when you move that, you want to make sure you unlink your mask, because let's see, if we have this linked together, we're going to move both of those at the same time, and this is what we're getting. So this, if you unlink it, that mask is going to stay in place and keep on protecting, you know, your colors on the flash, and you'll just move this around. So that's how you do that. Okay, so our next layer, what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead, we're not going to blur it yet. We'll go ahead and let's place it a little bit farther, kind of like in the middle between where the rendering is and where the end of the motion blur is. So let's put it there. And let's drop that, the opacity down to, you know, 30%, 20% looks better. Somewhere in that range. And we'll just go ahead and make a selection from our other alpha mask that we had, and we'll just do that again. And again, we're just help protecting, you know, all of our rendering that we already did. And we'll click on the actual, oops, sorry about that, not the mask, but on the on our color renderer that we had. We'll go up to our Photoshop menu, go to Filter, Blur, and then Gaussian Blur. 20 is way too much. It's from something else I was working on. We want it a little blurred, but not too much. I think 1 looks pretty good. Maybe we'll go maybe 30 on that. And again, you know, you're going to mess with your settings and everything and see what works best. We'll go to our next guy, and we'll just kind of place him in between those two, I think. And we can go back up to our Photoshop menu, hit Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. But I want to apply the same blur again, so I could just hit Command F on a Mac, or it's Control F on a PC. And you can see right here, it does the blur automatically, and it'll keep the same settings that we had before. Let's go ahead and we'll drop that down to 50%. 50. Let's see how 30 looks. 40. I think 50. And again, you just kind of want to play around with it. And right now, I need to add that layer mask back on there so we can see it a bit better. Maybe I'll drop this down a little bit more. Maybe do that one 30 and this other one underneath it 20. Maybe 10. I don't know. Let's see. It's this guy on this blur. 70. 80. I think that looks pretty good right there. And you know, it's all about trial and error. Every piece you do is going to be different. So you know, feel free to play around with those settings. And now what I want to do, let me set up on and do a layer underneath my glue. Now, you know what? Let's put it over top everything. So do a new layer. And I'm just going to call it streaks. And I'm going to rotate my canvas here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a nice hard brush. And it's going to be, you know, one of these guys up here. You know, the roundness set to 0 or, you know, pretty low. So let's take a look at my settings here. Yeah, oh, sorry, hardness set to 100, spacing set to about 1% or so. And let me get a good shape dynamics going on that. And what I'm going to do, so you can kind of see it. So if you go, you know, really quick, you can see how it has like that little tapering at the end. So that's going to look really nice. We're just going to throw on, you know, from some of the color. We'll see how this looks. So I take my red right here, and I'm going to grab, I'm working on a Cintiq, and I'm just going to grab a ruler. I'll line up where I want, you know, right up against this line here. And I'm just going to whip that color down, you know, real quick. They're doing this on a separate layer again. You know, I can go ahead and kind of adjust it a bit. You know, either the colors or the opacity of it, you know, however I want to. Let's get a little bit of this fingertip going. And let's go a little bit down here. And it's just giving us a little bit more indication of that motion, which is going to be really nice on him. And make it a little bit of this darker color here. And you know, you want to vary up your thickness as well. That'll help sell the idea. Let's see. There you go. Oops. That looks a little unparalleled. Get that going again. There we go. Maybe we'll get a streak coming from here. Maybe up his knee down here. And again, if you're using a Cintiq, I mean, don't be afraid to, you know, throw a ruler up on your screen and use that. It helps a lot. If not, I mean, you could, you know, always, you know, line up your lines so that they're, you know, perpendicular, and you can just push down and then hold your shift key, and that'll give you a straight line as well. So you can, you know, pushing down, then I hold shift, and then I'm just kind of really quickly streaking it down like that. It's another way you can go about doing it. If you're just working on a regular tablet. Sometimes it might take a little bit to find that right angle. Oops, wrong key. Let me go back to my ruler here. Guess I can speed through this a little bit faster. Oops. A little bit more yellow in here as well. Let's go ahead and take a look and see how that looks. Yeah, I'd say that kind of sells the motion a bit. This guy, again, it helps that we're on a separate layer. It's a little off, so I'm just going to adjust the angle on him. So I think that works pretty nice. Let's see. Let's get all of these guys together. Let's put them in a group and call it blur. So we got that. And this guy kind of extended a little too long. And see, back on our blur group, let's see what happens if we go to screen. Nah, it doesn't do much for me. Overlay. Nah, I like it regular. I think that works pretty good. I think same for, let's see, without or with. I kind of like it with. It gives it a little bit more motion. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for this episode. Again, this is based off of a subscriber suggestion. Something they wanted to see. If there's something you'd like to see, send me a note. Drop me a line on the Facebook fan page. It's facebook.com/lummage1. It's the number 1. And or DeviantArt. It's lummage.deviantart.com. Or leave a comment. Let me know what you guys would like to see. And I'm always open for suggestions. And if there's anything that you're looking for specifically, I'd like to help you out. And hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you have, thank you so much. It means a lot to me. And I shall see you guys next episode. Thank you so much. Bye.